Epilogue. The sunlight had left the backyard, and the single lawn chair lay in the shadows like the skeleton of some giant insect. The day was over. The purple dress, lifeless now, lay across the bed in the darkening room, and the dried lilac rested on the dresser like a curl of lavender dust. The anniversary had come and gone, and no one here had known about it. Soon Maggie would eat dinner with the two little sisters and their parents, her parents. After that, she would get ready for bed, and the day would have slipped by like every other. Back at Adelphi Hills, too, the anniversary would be drawing to a close. The patch of sun would already have gone from the garden, leaving the wicker chairs and the wallpaper roses in deepening shadows, and the faces in the dining room would have grown dim as well. "Will you always be our sister?" That was Edith, the older one. She always asked that. "Will you?" She ran her fingernail across the velvet ribbon, making pale rivers. "Yes, of course." "Always, always?" "Yes." "Even when you die?" "Yes, of course, but that's silly." Maggie made a little braid out of Edith's hair, not fastening it, watching the strands loosen and fall apart. "That's nice," said the little one, Clara. "That's nice that you'll be our sister always, even when you die." She began to sob aloud about Uncle Morris as she always did, but Maggie, as she always did, said not to. "Don't cry," she said. It's okay that he died." But she didn't say why it was okay. To do so would be to tell about the other garden and the other room, and so she kept to herself for always the moments following Aunt Harriet's call from downstairs. "It's time to go," Maggie had said the last day to the backwoods girls, and she had knelt on the window seat for the final look at the garden. There was no motion at all outside. The birches' leaves hung like green icicles from their branches, and far to the left, the broken swing hung unmoving from its single rope. "Maggie," Aunt Lillian called this time. "Okay," Maggie replied, not raising her voice. "Maggie!" "Okay," she shouted, "I'm coming." Once more, "Maggie!" And suddenly she stood frozen at the window. Who was that who called? The voice had been loud and clear, but it wasn't that of Aunt Lillian or Aunt Harriet, and it came from the front hall, from the walls of her room. "Maggie, whatever is keeping you? The tea is getting cold." And the next moment she was out of the room, flying across the hall. "It's them, it's them." And on the way she heard in some other voice. She never was one for getting to places on time. "I'm here," she cried breathlessly from the bottom of the attic stair. "I'm here," from the top now. And in an instant she was rounding the wardrobe and in the doll room. "I'm here." Timothy John was sitting in the armchair with the newspaper spread out on his knee. Miss Christabel was standing at the tea table, and Juniper, out of his basket, was lying at Timothy John's foot. "Well, there you are, Maggie," Miss Christabel said, before Maggie had a chance to speak another word. "What kept you so long? We had so much to get ready, but someone very nicely took down the streamers from yesterday's party." "Yesterday's party? Didn't they know the party had taken place weeks before?" "And swept up the crumbs, too," Timothy John remarked, without looking up from the newspaper. "Oh, Miss Christabel," Maggie finally gasped. "Timothy John, Juniper, you're back." "What nonsense are you talking?" Miss Christabel said. "Come, give me a hand with the tea." "But I can't, Miss Christabel. I can't stay. I have to go. I'm leaving for good. I'm going to another place to live." "But I'm so glad you're here and you're alive, and wherever I am, I'll always think of you here, having your tea and walking in the garden and reading the paper and doing all those things you always do. Oh, Miss Christabel and Timothy John and Juniper, you're alive." "Mercy!" Miss Christabel exclaimed. Is it time for you to leave already?" Timothy John slipped the gold watch out of his pocket. "It is exactly time," he said. 8:35. Everything always seems to happen at 8:35, so it isn't surprising that you should be leaving, Maggie." "Maybe I can come back and visit sometime," Maggie said. "Maybe someday I'll come back to Adelphi Hills, and we can all have tea together, just as we always did, the three of us and Juniper." "4," Timothy John corrected her. Maggie looked at him. "4 of us," he said. "We are 3 up here now. He's come, you know." "Who's come? Where?" "In the garden," Miss Christabel answered. "Our newcomer. The other one." "What other one?" Maggie's head spun back and forth. "Who?" And her eyes swept across the room. There was an extra chair at the table, she now noticed, and strangely, a third bed. Other things, too, seemed added, rearranged, and she let out a quick gasp as she caught sight of something else in the corner, a small round boulder, its crown looking as though it had just been brushed with the sleeve of a coat. Hanging on the clothes hook and against the wall, a small walking stick, its silver knob shining like a perfect moon.